Good evening, Free Enterprise fans. I'm Leggy Starscream, bringing you this Oscredwin versus Dragus match. Joining me in the booth today is Antidale. Hello, Antidale.
Hello, Leggy. This should be a pretty interesting match. Both runners are pretty much fighting for their tournament lives. 3-3 is still a little bit of an outside run at getting into the round of 16, but definitely still possible for both of them. I don't think that door has been shut yet by the math. So both of them looking to just like keep the run going and know they have some more stuff to do. But looks like we also have some objectives. You want to talk about them at all?
Yeah, so like you were saying, a 3-3 record means that your advancement mostly comes down to your strength of schedule. So I imagine whoever wins today is going to be rooting for the other one to keep winning. But today in our objective pool, we have the ever popular forging the Excalibur. We have dropping the Magna Key into the Agate Well, destroying the Super Cannon, which is the Tower Key, and unlocking the Sealed Cave with the Luca Key. So what do you think our runner's key to victory is going to be?
Well, clearly we're not going to be barren for finding key items here tonight. We definitely will be looking for chains. We can't follow the dictum of do your objectives first, because pretty much every objective is locked behind a key item somewhere. We've got to find a whole bunch of things in order to progress through the seed. So we're going to be looking to probably hit those spots early that have key items that aren't gated, and just kind of go from there, see where the seed takes us.
Yeah, this could be a really interesting one, because that second objective there, drop the Magna Key in the well, could either be very free, or that Magna Key could be hiding somewhere nasty, which would mean, in fact, that our runners would have to deal with the hook route. So, depending on where that Magna Key is, this seed could go a number of different ways.
Yeah, we'll know pretty soon, at least within probably the first 15 minutes of the seed, what's likely. If we start with Magma Key, of course, then we'll know instantly, but if we start with a hook, we still have the chance of a Magma Key on Earth. But there's really no telling where any of these ones are going to be. It's not like find the Darkness Crystal, which you know has to be on Earth somewhere. It's not like there are two, both of the ways underground, where you know one of them has to be in a relatively reasonable spot. In the overworld, we just kind of have to hunt and find things. And it looks like we're starting with a very small child. We've got level 1 Iridia and all of her 30 HP to start the seed. We'll definitely be interested to see who our second character is, to see if maybe Iridia can take a nap for a while and runners might want to slingshot her up to higher levels, or if we maybe get a good summon off of Hobbs.
Yeah, we could see a good early summon. We could also manage to get one out of one of the higher tier loot locations that our runners are going to be checking. But yeah, Iridia could be taking a nap and then either be used as the agility anchor, or later on, the runners could try to slingshot her up to nuke when they go to do their grind. But we're off. And some of our questions are answered by that Rosa showing up. A Lunar Sparkle handing over a Samurai bucket.
Yeah, so starting key item that we might sell instantly for like 5,000 or so, or I don't remember what those actually sell for, but not too much. But Oscredwin is leaving behind that Rosa, where Dragus does take the Archer White Mage. I would kind of lean towards taking Dragus' play myself. I love a good early Rosa. I love in 4.1 that we can find some heroin robes lying around in some pretty fun spots.
Yeah, and Rosa is generally considered to be the preferred white mage, especially in the later stages of the game. So really, I'll be interested to see what Oscredwin is trying to do with that particular choice of leaving Rosa behind. But it looks like our runners are going two different places to give us a look at two different character checks, plus some early looting. Dragus over on Mount Ordeals, while Oscredwin finds a Vanillatella in the Watery Pass.
Yeah, not unhappy to see that Tella. Also, not really unhappy to see that Kane there for Dragus on Ordeals. Tella, great for exit, great for blink. And Oscredwin is like, join my party, old man. We're gonna have 2/3 of vanilla right here.
Yeah, whereas Dragus looks to be taking the Kane, really rounding out his party early with what is 3/5 of the vanilla endgame party.
Yeah, and you get a good white mage, a good black mage, and then Kane is a fairly solid damage dealer. Not always the dream, but in the select set, he's pretty solid. It's a little bit harder to find some of his better weapons, but Kane in an Ogre Axe, Kane even in a Gundyr Spear, or heck, even a Blizzard Spear can take you a long way.
Yeah. Looks like Dragus is finding the old man as well, deciding to fly back up this way. Oscredwin pulls a elven bow and some Medusa arrows out of the backside of the watery pass. So that's going to be nice for any archer characters he wants to use.
Yeah, that elven bow is really good early. It has the best accuracy of any of the early bows we'll be able to find. Also hits mage type weaknesses, which we love to do for Magus Sisters, for Baron Guards, for Asura, as well as Warlocks in case we happen to find a Siren up on the moon. Plus, it's just really nice to have, and eventually Rosa might hand it off to Rydia because it does have a +5 to the Black Magic stat as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it looks like Dragus is giving us kind of a follow behind where Oscredwin has tread, having taken the time to fly over to Mount Ordeals. Oscredwin pulls a Dragon Ip and a Rune Ring out of the Damsian basement. So that Dragon Whip is actually really interesting for this early Rydia.
Yeah, it actually lets her kind of contribute. She'll be much faster if we ever get to a D machine grind. If she doesn't have any levels, she'll be able to equip that and get a little bit faster, so she's not quite so behind the times in terms of agility. And plus, if we ever find any dragon type enemies, it'll hit them pretty hard. And we do see a Stardust rod or Stardust item on the way to picking up Sid, which is also very nice to pick up.
Yeah, that Sid starts with a really high level, has a massive chunk of HP, especially at this stage of the game, and can provide a lot of really good damage, especially against machine-type enemies with his hammers, which is occasionally more relevant than you might think. Unfortunately, doesn't work against CPU, but against things like Dr. Luge and various searchers in the underground, that can be incredibly relevant.
Yeah, we do pick up a Silver Hammer on Oscredwin's side in the Antlion Cave. That's a good enough upgrade for Sid that you're not unhappy to see it. It's a little bit harder for us to find those Ochre Axes and Rune Axes, or even the Earth Hammer. So Silver Hammer does still do some pretty good work against even the Mac Giants if we ever fight one of those.
Mm-hmm. Dragus finally turns someone away, deciding to leave the Sid behind and keeping at least one spot open for that final character, whoever might show up. Going to go over and give us a look at our free Hob summon. Normally Rydia would learn Fire 1 here in Vanilla, but that spell's kind of bad. So instead,
we'll get some Titan. Mini Quake for Rydia pretty early. That's really nice to see.
Yeah. She will need to get a little bit of levels to get a little bit of MP in order to use that, but you don't hate it.
No, you now actually have an incentive to keep Rydia from napping early on. A lot of times, like we mentioned earlier, that you're really interested in that slingshot because Rydia's XP curve is terrible. She only takes to get to level 50 in order to get nuke, but level 50 for Rydia is 1 million XP, where level 52 for Palom, who is one of your other nuke caster, only takes about 900,000.
Yeah. Dragus looting the side of Mount Hobbs gets a Grimoire and a Dancing Dagger as the main items of note. The boss of Antlion Cave today is Pale Dim, which, honestly, not the worst thing.
No, especially now with that dragon whip we found earlier. Pale Dim is a noodle dragon, So getting that extra damage, we saw Rydia doing about 500 per shot, which is really nice. And here we've got an alt gauntlet on top of Mount Hobbs that Dragus is now reset out of.
Yeah, Dragus saw that blue robe with the Edward, which I'm assuming he wasn't super excited about, but definitely wanted to get that information about the blue robe to see which boss it was, be it the Alt Gauntlet, which is a slog of 5 fights, or the freest of the free Water Hag.
Yeah, and he does reset out of a Grimoire and a Dancing Dagger that were found there on Hobbs, I believe, and might be even reset out of the Titan. So something that might come into play a little bit later. I do even like a Dancing Dagger on early Kane, because I don't think we found a good upgrade for Kane yet. That Slumber Sword is okay, but a Dancing Dagger is actually surprisingly consistent damage early.
Yeah. Also, there's a Kamikaze in one of those boxes, which can be really good, especially with that twin harp that Oscredwin had picked up from the Antlion Cave, which you still have to go through that first phase of the Dark Elf fight where the Dark Elf paralyzes everyone before Edward comes down and plays music. And if you can knock out your party relatively quickly, for instance, using that Kamikaze to attack one of your other party members to knock both characters out, you can speed up some of that process a fair bit.
Yeah, that's a really heads-up play, especially for some people like Tello who don't come equipped naturally with any magnetic gear. So it's a very heads-up thing to keep that in mind, and also maybe use it at the end of a D Machine fight. And hello, Wyvern. Goodbye, Wyvern.
Yeah, Wyvern was not happy that we bothered it in the shower today. Luckily, Wyvern, stay there. We're cool. Don't need to worry about you. As Dragus picks up his twin harp.
Yep, both runners doing some pretty standard routing so far. Going through Antlion, it's the easiest early place to go. Then going to Fabul because it's also pretty easy to get some good XP out of there. So just kind of plugging along, looking for our keys to kind of get going on the seed.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see because having that twin harp there does mean that underground access can be behind that twin harp. It'll just be a question of how soon our runners manage to find either that hook or that magma key right now.
Yeah, and I think earlier I'd said that it was a silver hammer. I think I was wrong, and that's actually a silver staff that we had found in Antlion Cave. So no upgrade for Sid yet, unfortunately.
Womp womp.
Also, womp womp on the D-Mist against CPU, not the Dream.
Yeah, that does take out one of the small orbs, which... well, who is not dying today?
Yeah, in a 3-person party, it's a little bit rough sometimes to come back from this. But there's still plenty of time. We can... unfortunately, that Stardust item also is going to get used by Rydia dying there. So yeah, that's a quick reset. Definitely a good choice to not fight through that anymore.
Yeah, CPU is one of those fights that can just be really annoying because of the way that the fight works. You want to try and take down the front orbs because those are what are doing everything that CPU does, from attacking you, doing 10% of your party's health with that mazer, to healing the CPU for 10% of its health. But on the other side of the coin, if you take them both out, CPU is like, okay, I'm going to do quad 9s to your party members.
Yeah, that Globe 199 is awfully rough when you only have 3 people. It's definitely a good reason to maybe keep that Dancing Dagger around, because even though that ends up counting as a magic attack, it goes straight through a wall. So equipping that on your Kane or your Rydia gets them to be doing like 300 to 400 damage per shot, which makes that CPU pretty straightforward overall.
Yeah. That, of course, being the other downside of dealing with CPU is that if you hit it with any magic, it will put up a wall. So you do have this problem where you want to berserk up your melee fighters because that's how you get melee fighters through things. And CPU's like, no, I've got 2 extra targets. And you're like, okay, I'll use magic. And CPU's like, no, I'm going to throw a wall.
and then you get frustrated, and then Global 99s come out, and then it's a bad time for everybody. But as our Sheep Launcher, our tracker does note that we did see Thorrages and Silkwebs in shops in Troya, which are both very nice. The Thorrages are guaranteed in overworld shops because of rude Kanatsu placements in the game kind of make you need some way to deal lightning damage to them. In case we come up with Kanatsu, we'll talk about that in a little more detail.
Yeah, but the Thor Rages can be used in a number of other circumstances as well, including setting up your D-Machine manipulation outside of Baron. They can be used to quickly take out some of those weak early fights.
Yeah, absolutely. There, and also probably even those the skeletons up on Mount Hobbs. Bombs would do a little bit more cleanly, I think, but the Thorrages should probably do it too.
Mm-hmm. Oscredwin finally giving us a look at our Nasidia characters. We've got a Yang and a Kane here, and it looks like neither character is sticking around in Oscredwin's party.
No, that makes a lot of sense. But we did find a tower key given to us by defending Fabul. So that is one of the key items that's required for one of our 4 objectives. So that's really nice to have for Dragus' side. Oscredwin does not know that it's there after having faded, bailed out on that CPU fight.
Yeah, Oscredwin does find lit arrows for sale over here in Nasidia. Goes back, says, okay, Rosa, come along this time. So he's got his white mage as well.
Yeah, Rosa, you're on the team is a phrase that is said very often in these flags. And generally, runners seem to like one Tella to kind of be a good anchor, be a good utility mage, and also really kind of get you through a D-Machine grind. Then one person is going to have a lot of HP and can do some good fighting. And then 3 mages has been pretty typical of many parties for this. And we do see some charm arrows there in Silvera. Those are a nice find.
Yeah. Over on Oscredwin's side, goes to raid the Chocobo Forest. Unfortunately doesn't find anything, but does get that MP refill off the White Chocobo.
Yeah, definitely a play that was popularized in the Fabul Gauntlet. A nice cheeky way that if you wanted to not go into Fabul, but have used some magic so far in the other parts of the seed, where you can refill on magic and possibly get some decent loot, because the Chocobo Forests do have a increased chance of good loot here in the T-Pro flag set.
Yeah, Oscredwin finds the cane that we knew about from Dragus' side, and seems to be saying, you know what, I'm putting off the bull, I'm going up the mountain. Which, depending on how the seed plays out, could be a pretty heads-up play if he manages to find a pan and then goes back and cleans up Fabul. But before we get into possibilities, does find a Dark Knight going for a walk outside.
Yep, and this Dark Knight is just mildly annoyed at being interrupted on his hike up the mountain. Not going to do too much damage, though. This party is just going to stand here, let him swing at them a little bit, and then a little bit of a monologue, and then we'll just be moving on.
Yeah, it looks like Dragus is following close behind on this mountain.
Yeah, one thing that you might see some other runners do occasionally is during the speech, you can get into your inventory and kind of move stuff around if you'd like to move some attack items up from the bottom or move some stuff to sell over into one spot of the inventory, because you can actually do that all during the speech, and you're not going to be blocking the ATB from advancing during it.
Yeah. Also, heads up play from Dragus queuing up the Cure 2 to go off immediately after the third attack. And off Oscredwin's side, hey, you know how we were talking about how Sid's hammers work well on Balnab?
Yeah, I do. Looks like we got a Doctor Dialogue here. 2 of those full forms are machine type enemies.
Indeed. Sheep Launcher, our tracker, pointing out that this is the speech bridge today.
Yeah, I wonder if this is like a place in London that I can't remember the name of, the exact area, where people like to get up on soapboxes and kind of just speechify a lot.
I was going to go with it's the supervillains convention, which is why you have all these people monologuing outside.
Also good.
Yeah, we see Oscredwin making fairly short work of this first phase. In this spot, especially with the fact that there are 4 different forms that have the HP of Mylon Z divided up between them, a lot of these spots are actually fairly going to be fairly squishy for this fight.
Yeah, but Oscredwin doesn't quite do enough damage to get all the way through the Dr. Luge form there, and does have to fight Melnav Z, which is one of the rarely appearing bosses, where Dragus does have Titan on his side, and that's some really solid damage out of that summon.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Oscredwin's Rydia has the MP for it yet, but she's currently taking a nap on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, she's like 4 or 5 years old, so very interested that climbing this mountain's going to be difficult for her. She's going to take a nap. Probably a little thin air up here. Just needs a little energy.
Yeah.
And neither one are going to be able to torment us too much for the poison walk, because we will get a free full heal once we walk into the top chamber and on our deals.
But yeah, we really see that hammer from Sid paying dividends, doing nearly 1,000 damage on this second phase.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how when you maximize each character's damage potential, how much faster you can go through. Dragus had come into the fight second, gotten through the first form before Oscredwin, but Oscredwin, who had the hammer equipped, was able to get through the second form a little bit faster, and is actually the first one to get into the tomb chamber here and gets a hook.
All right. And finds the other blue robe behind it. So this is honestly kind of annoying, because this spot doesn't have that much HP, and this butter hag is going to take way longer than almost any other spot here would be.
Yeah, we've got to hit it 3 times, and it's going to talk to us and encourage us on, and we're like, please just let us beat this water hag up. We know what we're doing.
Yeah, but given the way that things have shaped out, this does mean, at this point, that magma key could be literally anywhere.
Yep. There are none of the gating bosses that can prevent us from saying this is our logical way underground have shown up on this path. So this so far seems to be the intended way underground, unless we find that magma key at Baronet. Or behind the Twin Harp.
Yeah, of course, this being the hook route does mean that there's still 2 more spots where gating bosses could appear.
Yeah, absolutely. If we run into Valvalis, we already know where Wyvern is, or Golbez on the way down to the hook in either the King Queen Evelyn spot or the Rubicon spot. We know that it's not logically required for us to go through there, because those have been ruled too tough. They can be just a little bit too rude, a little bit too hard, make it just too long to be fun and interesting to get underground. So they're not allowed to get your progression.
Yeah, and like for instance, Dragus might have an easier time with that Valvalis, and might choose to go through it anyway with that cane, but we'll see what we find. And if our runners go and check it right away, it looks like Oscredwin is picking up that hovercraft and flying it over to the Evelyn area.
Yeah, with Atella in the party, I kind of like getting the information. It's definitely a good play to figure out who the character is, what's in the shops down here, do a little extra looting, and then also figure out who the boss is, to figure out whether you need to go, whether it's something you can just go straight through and power through, or whether it's something that you need to level up a little bit more, whether you might know that, oh hey, the progression isn't this way, so we're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, or if, okay, there's a boss here, I can do it, but I want to hunt down particular things that it's weak to. for instance, if we see an Ashura finding more anti-mage weapon, etc.
Yeah, and here we have Dark Elf and Edward having a little tea. They're probably talking about their various likes in music. Dark Elf, of course, not enjoying it very much at all.
Oscredwin trying to raid the pod in the back of the Evelyn Cave Infirmary, doing a little dance with that little girl who is definitely doing her best to get in his way.
Ooh, and Leviathan, the second spot, is not super friendly.
Yeah. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, those. It's probably time to throw out a Star Veil or two on somebody that you care about, because those Ice 2s are going to hurt. That's another old man, and that's a free spot in the Rubicant. Just a little bit of French vanilla there, shifting from the King Queen into the Ruby spot. Edge's parents are totally free and worth 25,000 XP.
Yeah. So, of course, the real question is then, who is at their spot?
Absolutely, because if it's a physical fight, that's going to be an awful lot for this party. Rosa is probably someone that you want to get blank on before doing it, because that spot hits very, very hard for levels that the party is at right now.
Yeah, so if it's something like an Antlion or an Odin, that could be rough.
Yep, and if it's Odin, maybe you think about picking up this Edward here and having him fill up the party, and hoping for some Thundershock strats, because that's going to be really, really rude. But we do have those lit arrows too, which will help a lot in case it would be. And Oscredwin finding some crystal mail, which is really good to sell.
Yeah, finding just a bunch of stuff in general. Manages to avoid looting the one box that has monsters in it so far. At least that's what I'm gathering from that. Oh, I guess there are 2 boxes down there.
Yeah, there might have been a reset in there that we both missed, but Dragus is through. That Leviathan is down. We get a spoon for it, and we get a bard. Unfortunately, unlike group flags, that bard cannot equip that spoon, so both of them probably go into the sidelines.
Yeah, the only way that spoon comes into play, other than counting as a key item for the sake of trying to hit that 10 key item double XP bonus, would be if we find an edge who can then chuck the spoon at someone.
And Oscredwin seems to be avoiding all the treasure chests down here too, not interested in finding that Mad Ogre's chest, and is just making a beeline straight to see who's at King Queen to see if maybe we get a really aggressive play towards the underground.
Yeah, like, this could be a really, really good gamble if that first fight is free. And even if it doesn't pay off, just having that information so you know how much you want to do, so you can go back and adjust your party as needed, can be extremely valuable at this point.
Yeah, information is such a huge thing in Free Enterprise. There's really not that much that you have to keep in your head all at once, but just knowing what you can possibly face, like, hey, there's some monsters in that chest, I know what it is, and I can decide whether or not I want to fight it. Looks like we are going to get fighting these trap chests here from Dragus. This is good XP, and more importantly, really good loot is here in Castle Evelyn. Hey, Leggy.
Yeah?
Do you see that antlion that you called?
Commentator's curse. Yeah, there's the reset.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Antlion takes out 2 people really before the first turn even popped up. We're gonna probably get some experience and come back and do this again. Well, hey, there's that monster chest also that we talked about earlier that Oscredwin had managed to avoid so far.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Oscredwin does have to do some more of that looting that he already did, but it's all fairly localized, so this is going to go by fairly quickly. I do appreciate Dragus doing the Castle Emblem play because the treasure here is quite nice, but it will be interesting to see what happens when our runners decide to go over and take a look at what that Twin Harp has.
Yeah, I imagine it looks like Oscredwin might be heading that way right now. Going to do Baron in first, but definitely Twin Harp's going to be on the mind pretty soon. We did pick up another Dragon Whip. We picked up a headband and a Charm Rod out of the normal chest in Castle Eblin. And the trap chests also do have I think it's 30, 30, 40% chance of 5, 6, or 7, tier 5, 6, or 7 loot, which is tied for the best in the game.
Yeah, let me pull up those numbers just to make sure, but if it isn't that, it's something extremely comparable. Yeah, you got it. You got it in one.
Yeah, they were one of the ones that got a bump up during the version 4.0 change, possibly because no one had really gone to them, because they're a little bit out of the way. The XP isn't super great. They were a little bit less interesting as a runner to check over just doing the one format ogre chest on the hook route. So they got a little bit of an increase to make them much more interesting.
Yeah, and there are the 3 distinct chests, so your odds of pulling a single piece of tier 7 gear are actually reasonably high.
Yeah, we've seen some Excaliburs and Crystal Swords pull out of there, probably some white shirts during the tournament. Like, there's a lot of good stuff you can get. It is absolutely worth it to check sometimes. Of course, because it's a randomizer that holds just for that particular seed and how fast you can get through them. Because we've seen Dragus try twice to get through that one chest and fail both times, so it kind of hurts a little bit to go that far. I think that's the first time we looked at that item shop. Those life potions and soma drops are really nice to find.
Yeah, life potions are one of those. They're basically another currency in this game, as far as I'm concerned, because you always want to make sure you have at least a few dozen in your back pocket for both dealing with fights that go badly or turning them into experience with the life glitch.
Yeah, with the advent of the starter kits that we had, I would definitely take some risks early on, especially like in group stages where maybe we weren't as life glitching quite as much, to not shop at all. But especially here in Table Flags, when you're dying much more often and you're trying to just eke out every bit of experience that you can, just making sure to shop for life potions as well as star veils is such a big component.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dragus coming up through Cave Eblin sees the old man and the King of Eblin, and we'll see whether or not he goes down and finds out whether or not there's an antlion today. Spoiler alert, there is.
I imagine that we probably see Dragus also back out of that fight if he does run down to see it. Oscredwin is going back to Fugul, going to face the CPU, having picked a few more levels. Will be much more successful this time around, I believe.
Also has picked up that 4th party member, so even if things go awry, he'll still have 2 people up.
Absolutely, that's a very good point. Sheep Launcher in chat asking if there's any chance that anyone takes Second Teller for more blinks. It's entirely possible. I'd probably be more willing, especially since I know I have our Rune Ring. I could slap that on Rosa, and then I could take out Mad Ogres, both of the Mad Ogre chests even, to get all the experience that she should need to get to blink.
Yeah, but fundamentally the consideration is any party member you take is completely locked in to your party. Once you say, yeah, come along with me, you can't get rid of anyone. So any choice you make is someone you're going to have to take all the way into the Z fight.
Yeah, unless you take the pain of resetting back further out from before picking up that character.
Yeah. So while a second tele might provide utility now, our runners might look at it and be like, it might not be worth it later on, because having only 3 characters who are able to do a lot of stuff might not be worth it. Dragus pulling a white spear out of that Mad Ogre chest. That's gotta feel good.
Oh, real good when you took that cane early and didn't have anything particularly good for him. Oscredwin was going to be a little bit more disappointed than Dragus was there if he does do that Mad Ogre chest. And that was a great use of the Stone Spell on those Mad Ogres. We've seen people also use Size on them. They do resist the Toad spell, so if you do have a Black Mage with Toad, that Black Mage isn't going to do too much to them, but Size and Stone are good ways to clear them.
Yeah, and over on Oscredwin's side, picking up the Black Chocobo, so we're going to get music soon, people.
Yeah, I like this play overall. You've gotten stymied by that Antlion. You want to make some sort of progress and get a little bit more XP. You've got this key item that could get you a Magma Key, could get you a Luca Key too, even, or just maybe a Darkness Crystal. There's a lot of things this could be, but it's definitely XP. And there we do indeed see that reset from Dragus.
Yeah, and if it does turn into something, it's going to be really nice for Oscredwin, depending on whether or not Dragus decides to piece out from that rough Antlion and go check it, or if it looks like Dragus is going back in for the Antlion a second time. So if this turns out to be something nice for Oscredwin, this could tilt the balance of the race a little bit.
Yeah, Dragus did change battle speed, so slowed the battle speed down a lot. It does take time, and ATP ticks do go by on battle speed 1, even when you just draw a menu, so you lose the ability to input commands. But Antlion still punching too hard, still going too fast. The most we got was, I think, a slow cast, and then attempting to blink with Tella, and that's another reset.
Yeah, that's going to be a nasty spot. I could almost see our runners trying to take another physical character, like picking up either the Cane or the Tella that they don't currently have, just to have more people in heavy armor to tank those Antlion hits.
And pretty much one-shotting anyone in this party so far. It's not looking so good, but we do have the Dark Elf Parrot making the entire team perish. We have Edward struggling to get out of bed, and Edward's going to play us a tune.
Dancing dolls. That's going to be nice, especially with that Titan summon.
Yeah, they don't get the full magic defense here. Firebomb's also going to do some real good work. Cleared out all but one of the dolls. Ooh, but we do get the very quick turn into Galbraith. That's less fun.
Oof. Yeah. We'll see whether or not they are able to handle the giant doll. But it looks like that's not a lot of damage coming out from that party, which is unfortunate.
No, that glance could be real bad if Rydia decides that they want to cast the Titan at the party.
Yeah, but looks like we've got a few people berserked up. Sid's hitting for like 200 to 400, and we'll see how this goes through.
Yeah, this probably ends up okay overall. Just a little bit slower and sloggier than you were really hoping for. After that firebomb cleared 5 of the 6, just didn't do enough. And indeed, Big Doll is down. We actually get pretty much the full complement of XP here, which is pretty rare for the dolls fight.
Yeah, and we'll see what this key item is very soon as Dragus makes his way. Oh, that's a magma key. Oh, that is spicy.
Yeah, that's super awesome. That is an objective. That's a huge sigh of relief to wave goodbye to Antlion and never ever go back.
Yeah. And so now our runners are going to get underground. We've got that tower key in our pockets. So the question becomes, do you go for the Darkened fight, which is usually fairly straightforward? Or do you go for the freebies, checking the Fey March and potentially doing that for a Sylph check?
I'm probably going to do Super Cannon first because it's an objective, and then I'll get my key item check out of there. I think about peeking the boss at the top. I'm not in a great spot to actually accomplish it for either runner, really. But depending on who it is, I can definitely see doing it. So it might be worth a quick save in the floor before the Super Cannon room, run up to the top, reset out if it's something you don't want to do, and then just finish the Super Cannon. Because you're also looking to get that key item, you know it's an objective. And if it's a pan, then you're very interested in that. But also, checking this freebie at Fey March is also not a bad idea.
Yeah. Getting your freebie out of the way, knowing what's down here in the various shops, and maybe even peeking the bosses to see if there's, yet another free boss down here.
Yep, Dragus is playing this a little bit safer, doing some stops on the back dolls. Ooh, hey, that adventure is really nice. Going to be nicer for Dragus, again, taking that cane, being able to equip it. That's Sid's one downfall, is he doesn't get all of the nice good things that Kane and Cecil can.
Yeah, though if you are Oscredwin, that Avenger might make you go, again, still one slot left in the party. It could be filled by Cade at this point. And those are Dark Imps, down here next to Odin in the Ashura spot.
Yeah, and those Dark Imps, if we have an Hourglass, which I think maybe we found one, are not free. They're they're not even free with an Hourglass because they're going to punch real hard. We do have 4 characters, so if we get a Curse Ring on someone and set up our agility, we'll be able to get through them. But that Odin's also going to be pretty mean. A Sur Spot isn't as punchy as Leviathan, but has the magic attack of All Get Out. So whoever lives through the punches from that Odin will absolutely not live through the Zantetsu skin if we do get there.
Yeah, it looks like Oscredwin is coming back down right away. Probably gonna try and get, yeah, dropping the battle speed, going in for the Dark Elves. We'll see how this works out.
Yeah, ideally you want someone to get into the queue and get the attack off as soon as possible. There is that Hourglass, so if Sid has a chance to get it off now, that's a quick reset.
Yeah, that timing is super rough. And a lot of it comes down to who the Dark Elves decide to punch.
Yep, well, we do find an Earth Hammer, which is a nice pickup for Sid. It's his best hammer. Gives him some extra strength. It is fire elemental based and does give him the ability to cast a very low power Quake, which can be useful. We do get a quick pickup of that. But those Dark Imps are probably going to have to wait for a little bit. Getting a Cursed Ring and a 5th character might be all that we need in order to kind of manipulate our agility and party order so that we can get that Hourglass off before everyone takes a nap.
Yeah. Looks like we are now pivoting, going into the tower. Looks like Oscredwin is opening up some of the boxes. Unfortunately, without an edge, and also in this flag set, we can't steal sirens from those boxes. But down here in Lower Babel, there's still that 15% chance of hitting a piece of Tier 7 gear.
Yeah, these are chests that actually got a little bit of a decrease after the full gauntlet. Sid can normally one-shot these. Sid just rolled a little bit low on that with that Earth Hammer in hand. But the loot is pretty good here. Not quite spectacular, but when you're one-shotting them, if you do, it's worth the time investment pretty often.
Yeah, there's about a 50% chance that between the 4 boxes, you'll get at least one piece of Tier 7 gear.
Yeah, I know I have a mental, internal, like, okay, I could stop now if I get one thing. I'm like, ooh, that's really nice. And then I just kind of don't trust the randomizer is going to give me a second piece of really nice things out of this.
Yeah, and of course the other side of this is that these fights are also worth a little bit of experience points. Not a lot, but going to give these fairly low-level party a level here and there. Gets a Leviathan summon from that first box.
Yeah, you're definitely not sad with that. And I wonder if that Sid is just not back row glitched. Even 1,400 points from an Earth Hammer with a Berserk seems pretty darn low.
Yeah. Busting out the stop strats on the alert just to be safe.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I think it's a really good play when Sid has been consistently not doing enough damage to them. You just got to make sure that those die and don't summon anything else.
Yeah. This one gives a Drain Spear, which would be nice if we had a Ninja.
Yep, and if you follow Swimmy Leone and are subscribed to his channel, get out your Drain Spear hype emotes. But the big reward out of there was Rosa gets Berserk.
Yes. So you can rely on 2 sources of Berserk, which is going to be a really nice pickup down in here. Ooh. Did Oscredwin check the 4 chests in the very, very back of Feymarch?
I don't remember what was picked up there from Dragus.
Because that's an Ashura summon.
That is pretty nice. Then that means that you could have the king and queen of the summoned monsters there sitting in your inventory.
Yeah, it's a little less important since we have that Rosa, we have that access to a certain white mage. But if we do find a heroine robe and we want to berserk up the Rosa for a fight, we could turn Rydia into a bit of a healer.
Yeah, it definitely gives you just a little bit of backup. There are plenty of times when Rosa has high rolled damage against her in the Z fight and it's gone down, where Rydia maybe low rolls it and stands up. So just having someone else who can full party heal is really nice. Was that a Dragoon Lance?
I blinked and I missed it.
Sheep Launcher chat, let us know if that was indeed a Dragoon Lance that Oscredwin is probably a little bit sad and that Dragus may or may not pick up.
Yeah. Looks like there is everyone's favorite turtle of the elements up in the super cannon room today. Dragus makes very short work of that fight.
Yes, wave goodbye to the turtle.
Pun intended, of course.
100%. But that's an objective down. Looks like Dragus is going to keep going up to the top. We'll probably save here at the save room in the next floor, just to make sure that you don't have to redo that fight at all. Take a quick peek who here is at the top of Lower Babel, and then decide from there whether or not you fight it or just go somewhere else and find a different way forward.
Yeah, I really do like the runners going up here and trying to get that information. If only because this is yet another key item check, and if you can take care of it now without having to walk all the way back up, it's going to be really nice. Plus, we're still on our Demist hunt, and any boss fight you don't check could be the one where the Mist Dragon is hiding with that Darkness Crystal.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen plenty of Darkness Crystals at the top of the tower. Mom Bomb is a little bit obnoxious here. Going to have a whole heck of a lot of HP. We'll hit semi-hard, but not too ridiculously hard. But we're going to get a quick swap from that White Lance and Aegis Shield to the Avenger. Kane's just going to go burr and attack as fast as possible.
Kane go burr. Oscredwin is taking the part of discretion and walking the required super cannon spot out of the tower. Gonna see what that key item is a lot sooner than Dragus.
Yeah, you have to believe in the half tower play, but it can absolutely work out. Dragus is going to spend a lot of time here on this Mop Bomb fight. There's just a lot of HP to buzz through. This team will be able to do it. It won't be too horrible. I think Dragus is the one in better position to deal with going through this fight as fast as possible.
Yeah, especially with that White Spear Avenger combo. Just a apple for our troubles taking out the turtle today.
Yep, and just the silver one too, so only 50 HP to toss on someone. That's either going to be handed to Rydia maybe at some point, or just sold for cash.
Yeah. Oscredwin now going down and getting that Sheila 1 check online. I don't hate it. You know, if rule number 1 of free enterprise is do what's required, rule number 2 is check your freebies.
Yeah, you don't want to leave this check hanging. It requires nothing but walking. It takes about 2 minutes or so to do. If you feel like you want to take a quick save here at the end, once you back out into the underworld, so that you can just reset out if Sheila doesn't give you anything too terribly worthwhile. There's a lot of ways to mitigate the time, and it's very, very worth it to do this check as soon as you can.
Indeed. There is always that tension about, like, oh gosh, where's my pan? But getting it out of the way makes sense, especially when you know that everything left is probably going to be a little bit rough.
Yeah, and your 2 key items from Go mode, you know that you need either Luca key, well, 2 to, at best you're 2, at worst you're 3. You need a Weighted Aroma still, so we're looking for a Pass or a Darkness Crystal. And we need either the Luca key or we need the Adamant and Legend Sword. And hey, you were talking about pans.
Yeah, that is the finest of the pan flavors.
Vanilla pan.
Oof. Dragus queues up the Titan Summon a little too early, only gets it off on one of the mini bombs.
Yeah, that's one of those very small little techie things that if you input the command a little bit too soon before you actually see it target all the things, you're actually only going to get one. Just because of how inputs work on Final Fantasy IV when enemies aren't actually on the screen.
Yeah. Does take the mother of all bombs down, and luckily for Oscredwin, that's just a lightsaber.
Yep, Dragus is content enough to keep that XP. Probably not too thrilled with getting a lightsaber out of there. Going to be walking out of the tower. Going to get their apple. Going to be like, well, that was 5-10 minutes of my life.
Yeah, but, you know, sometimes it's better to do the fight and get nothing for it than fade it and be left wondering.
Yeah, that's going to feel way less bad for Dragus than it would be if Oscredwin does end up going back up there and ending up doing that fight and getting nothing, because climbing the tower twice is terrible. Climbing it once, at least you're like, well, it's as efficient as I could. But we do get a Baron key from the first half of that pan check.
Yeah, so it seems like doing Sylph Cave is at least part of your key to victory.
Yeah, that is the third key in the key chain. We're looking for one more, but that does give us 2 different key item checks, as well as another chance at some elevated shops here in the Baron weapon shop, because they are locked. And that's a very nice save from Oscredwin. Just saving right side of the Baron. Gonna go check Sheila. If Sheila doesn't have anything worthwhile, we're just gonna reset straight to Baron.
Indeed. Dragus gets out, sees that silver apple, flies straight over to the Sylph Cave to get that started. So we're almost an hour in. Sheila has the goods. Oh my god. That's a pass. That is access to that Z fight. So Oscredwin is 1 to 2 items away from go mode.
Yeah, not a comfortable go mode though. We do know that there are vampires, but we don't have a whole lot of high HP people. Normally, if I'm doing 1200 HP strats, I'd like to have 3 people at 1200. We can, with a little bit of work, we'll get to 2 pretty easily, because we'll be able to pick up that Cane, or maybe there's a Yang even still available, I think.
Yeah, and you also do feel a little bad because, you know, you've gone to all this trouble. You've had to tell us since the word go. Where is that darkness?
Yeah, you're absolutely been planning to do a D Machine grind almost the entire seed, and if you don't get that Darkness Crystal, you're going to be like, do I want to fight that Odin at Asura for Darkness? The answer is maybe.
Yeah. Oscredwin giving us yet another Choco Magic refill.
Yeah, in Berserk now, it will depend on what actually gets us go mode, whether or not we forge or do Luca, whether or not those doors are available. We do have the trap chests in Sylph Cave, as well as the Warriors chest on the way to the Land of Summon Monsters, as other ways to get experience for the team, in case we do need it. But time to empty the inventory for Oscredwin, sell a bunch of stuff, I didn't see it was actually for sale at the shops that we're looking at right now, but soon enough we'll get a check.
Yeah, he's also dealing with the inventory boss, so just clearing out that inventory is definitely a good call here. Finds rune rings and a dwarf axe, as well as those wizard hats, which are going to be a nice upgrade for the mages in the party.
Yeah, dwarf axe nice because the -5 agility can really help Sid slow down if you want him to be your anchor. Wizard hats are super great if you have Mylon Zed somewhere rude, because that'll make that character pretty much immune to getting punched in the face from Mylon. And those root rings are also nice against the Suras and give you +3 to each magic stat.
Yeah, it looks like Dragus is going to be finishing out the Sheila chain very shortly, going to be rewarded with his pass very soon. And at this point, both of our runners will be setting on 7 key items.
Yeah, so if we do get the Legend and Adamant as our way to Threemus, even without getting the Darkness Crystal, we will have 10. If it's Luca plus Darkness, then we'll also get 10 because the crystal will count. So both runners are likely to get to that important 10 key item count before really having to contemplate a grind or how to finish the XP they'll need to actually defeat Threemus.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember. Did we get a check of who was at the boss of the Mist Cave?
I think that Oscredwin checked at some point, but I don't remember who it was.
Sheep Launcher reminding. I remember now. It was Bigan.
Yep, and here we know that it's not Pale Dim and not Wyvern that Oscredwin's going to be fighting here.
It is Plague. Which, honestly, is effectively free. All Plague does to threaten you is put up that count timer, and with the amount of damage our runners' parties are going to be putting out, that Plague is not long for this world.
Yeah. Rydia says, remember to wash your hands, Plague. Rose is going to pew-pew with some arrows, probably get a little bit of black magic cast from Tella here. Plague should be down pretty shortly.
Indeed. And I imagine Dragus is going to have a slightly more fun time of it with that Cane, because Plague counts as a flying enemy, and Cane's spears do extra damage there.
Yeah, I don't remember if Dragus actually has switched the Avenger off of Cane, but it don't matter at all either way. Avenger's going to do some really good damage.
Indeed. Yeah, that's 1K swing that you just don't have to worry about. That's a Golbez on the Baron Throne.
Yeah, that's a good time. Golbez is going to, once we get out of this menu, going to say, hey everyone, hold on a second. I gotta talk at you. Look at my dragon.
I mean, to be fair, if I had a pet dragon, I would be showing it off.
Yeah, I would too. I'm not sure if I'd actually be allowed to be the king of somewhere if my dragon just ate people, but maybe that's actually how you get to be king. Is that how you get to be king, Zoe? Or Leggy?
I can ask Zoe. I think she's in the other room, though.
But it must be good to be king and have a pet dragon. Kane on Dragus' side is going to just attack until he's maybe eaten by a dragon. Oscredwin's screen is giving us a little bit of a suspense building moment where the dragon is being called, but we just don't know who the dragon has eaten yet.
Indeed. Looks like we lost the stream entirely for a little bit, but hopefully that'll be back up soon. In the meantime, if you really want to see that dragon eating action, on Dragus' side, Rosa and Rydia go down.
That's actually not going to be too bad as long as Kane doesn't get hit too fast. I don't remember what the magic damage is here, but if Kane can do enough damage pretty fast, we might not have a problem at all. Well, magic's pretty good. Oof.
Oh, and you also have to get through that plague fight again, which, while not a tricky fight, is definitely not what you want to spend your time doing right now.
Yeah, especially when you don't know what your opponent did, but you do know that you spent time going down into Upper Babel, you fought that antlion, then you retreated, and then you find that there was a magma key all along for you at that early Twin Harp, and so now you might be feeling behind. You might be feeling more behind now after wiping to Golbez at the Baron Throne. But it looks like Oscredwin also did the same thing, since Oscredwin's stream is back and is fighting Plague again.
Yeah. We'll see. Though I can totally imagine one of our runners deciding to go, now, I don't want to deal with Golbez right now. I'm going to go see who's on the basement throne.
Yeah, you could absolutely decide to go and maybe take a save at the save outside of the Baron Castle when you're still kind of in the waterway area. But I imagine that both runners know the status priority enough to maybe mini or size mini/piggy your characters to make them immune to the hold spell, so you can get your star bells up in time.
And there's Oscredwin pigifying the entire party. Perfectly poised.
Golbez's going to be a little petulant later and ask why this could happen.
Presently, punching Golbez is going to be preferred, though the possibility... I got nothing. I tried.
Yes, we'll see what portends. We'll see what kind of wonderful things come out. Looks like we lost our Rydia. We lost our prof there up at the top. Who I think is Tella. So we pull out some protection from the pouch.
Yeah. Apologies. There was a little bit of street noise, but it looks like Oscredwin is through the Golbez fight.
Yeah, a really good readjustment, making sure that you do indeed keep everyone alive. But Dragus doesn't make that same adjustment, doesn't pick you up. Does have one character dead, though, so only one of his important people might be going down.
Yeah. Kane is yet again present in the seed. Looks like Oscredwin decided to take him this time.
I mean, with all of the great gear that Oscredwin has been handed for Kane, I don't blame him. He's still got that Dragoon Spear and the Avenger, I believe. So might as well take him in when he shows up. Take a nice long walk down this hall, eventually figure out what is here in the Baron trash can, and see if it's one of our keys to victory. Hey, that's a Darkus crystal.
That's a nice pickup. It does mean that at this point, who knows where Go Mode is? But I imagine neither of our runners are going to be worried about that question as much as they are worried about, okay, where on the encounter table am I?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see people land an airship outside of Baron, walk around a little bit after saving, resetting, and turning on encounters. And then we're going to figure out what encounter we're on so that we can make sure that we know that we're going to get a Deep Machine fight from the Searcher 2 Beamers fight that we'll find. Dragus also through that fight, pretty lickety split. Is just, what, a minute and a half or 2 minutes behind Oscredwin here? So some of the key things we'll be looking for out of this, just even setting up for this fight, will be to make sure we've got life potions and ethers, so that Tella can keep going. We have enough life potions to toss on the dragon as they take a nap. Might also be looking for a Soma drop if we haven't found one, to get Tella to a nice round multiple of 25 of his MP. I definitely don't blame both runners for not thinking about, or not taking time to try and get to 10 key items. There's not a whole lot of appeal in both, in doing what's left on Earth in order to try and get to 10 key items. You'll spend a lot of time possibly going and doing those checks.
Yeah, the only check that I could see one of our runners doing, and it looks like Oscredwin is choosing to do, is going to go check that Baron basement. But you really don't want to go down to do the Fey March bosses right now. And that's about it for checks left on the table.
Yeah, if I'm at 9,
from our
Dwarf
point of view.
Castle's a little appealing. But at 8, that means it's Dwarf Castle plus another one to get to 10, and that's just, nah.
Yeah, like, well, this might also just be more of like an information check. Coming down here, hey, it's me. But resetting out, knowing that Rubicante is off the table for now.
Yeah, that's not going to be a too fun fight. The magic is pretty strong there. Glaire's going to kill anyone that it hits. The punches are still going to be pretty rude too. At these levels, it'll probably also take people out. Keen and that Dragoon Spear aren't going to do too much because we're going to get countered with Fire 2s. We just don't have a whole lot going on for us to take that out pretty easily.
Yeah. Looks like Oscredwin is now settling in for the grind setup, while Dragus is going up to the moon.
Yeah, I kind of like getting this character check out of the way. You want to know who's up on the lunar dais, see if there's anyone you care about. I would definitely not say no to another Rydia or to a Palin if they're up here sitting on the moon just waiting for me to come visit.
And that's a Lunar Bard.
Yeah, he's not Spoony, he's Moony. We'll see if he's kept, but I think he's going to go back to the Tower of Wishes.
Yep. Yeah, I imagine Dragus giving us a shop check. And maybe a Bahamut check. And then heading back down to pick up that 5th character and getting that grind started.
Yeah, we still have the the Hypo guards and the Baron guards as fairly free bosses that are available in the pool, I think.
Yep. And if you find one of those, if you've still got that hourglass, that can pay dividends, and those bosses being basically normal enemies that got promoted to quote-unquote boss status, you can hit them with any number of status effects, from instant death magic to the aforementioned stop from the hourglass to plenty of other tricks of the trade for dealing with them.
Yeah, depending on the spot and how fast they are and how fast your team is, you could maybe use the Medusa arrows that we saw earlier. But we do find Ether 2s here in the Moon Hummingway shop. The Pillow Fort has Tella's favorite thing to drink. And Dragus sells a lot of that inventory to afford a whole boatload of them, so that Tella will have all the MP he could possibly want through this Steam Machine fight that's to come.
Indeed. And it looks like Oscredwin is setting up his D Machine right now. I mean, that looks like the correct encounter.
Yep.
Could always be centaurs.
It could. That would be very disappointing for Oscredwin. But I think at this point, most runners at the Table of Flags have practiced enough with this to know exactly which fight they're getting. And we see Sid doing a good bit of damage. 1500 to that beamer. Not quite enough to knock it out, but is still pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely. But it's always a little scary right up until you see that first D Machine pop out.
Oh, 100%.
Dragus deciding to do Dwarf Castle instead. I get the feeling he's looking for a character who hasn't shown up yet to complement this party.
Yeah, we do see one of those guard fights is the Calbrina spot. So we do have a bit of freeness here. And it's some pretty good XP, so you will be getting a little bit of a boost. It is a key item, and we know that we have both the Dark Crystal on pass, so we have awaited Threemus. So if this is a vanilla Lugia key, this could be go mode for Dragus.
Indeed. Oscredwin sees that first D Machine, and everything is now underway.
Yep, Tella's true final purpose of the seed is here. He is going to cast a lot of weeks. Just keep throwing it out there. Get those D Machines down to single target HP. Sid is probably going to be the person who bots him with a hammer. We're going to toss a life potion with Rydia or Rosa, and then we're just going to keep doing it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, it looks like Dragus is picking up another cane to take into what I'm presuming is going to be his grind.
Yeah, both runners looking for a bit more of a hybrid approach. Definitely with the Avenger, you're able to share the really good weapons between the two of them, and have one of them like start with the Dragoon Spear, switch to the Avenger, the other one can pick up the Dragoon Spear, and then be berserked by Rosa, and then just kind of go off to the races there. It could also shorten your grind a little bit. Rydia would take, at the levels that Rydia's at for both people, probably takes about 22 or 23 total dragons killed in order to get to Duke levels. And Kane would be able to go at Threemus much, much earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could totally see something like getting Rydia high enough up, maybe not at Nuke, but using her for the Ashura or other forms of utility on that Z fight.
Yeah, I mean, even if she just throws a Star Veil on herself and bounces a single Lit 3, that's something.
Yep. Every point of damage counts.
Yes, everyone is sacred. But we get encounters turned off on Dragus' side. It looks like that grind fight is found. We'll be going back to the whale and joining Oscredwin as we high five somewhere in the Giant of Babel.
Indeed. Oscredwin utilizing the Lilith Rod to steal MP from Rydia to fuel all of the weeks.
Yeah, definitely a heads-up play there. The Succubus item and the Lilith Rod both use what is effectively the Psych spell, but do that much, much faster. Psych has a pretty long cast delay, so it takes a good bit of time, where the Lilith Rod and the Succubus item both do it instantly. So, Leggy, do you think that there are like little gnomes or some sort of creature that's fabricating all of these steam machines that the Searcher summons?
I always thought it... I mean, in the Tower of Babel, I'm pretty sure the Searcher is just setting off an alarm because, those are organic creatures that are showing up. Here, I think it's the Searcher that's fabricating these D machines.
Okay. They're like little nanites somewhere, and unfortunately Dragus did not find the right fight. That was one of the horseman something encounters that is definitely incorrect, so we'll be trying this again.
Yeah. It is tricky, because if you're off by even one in your step counting, everything just goes to heck. This manipulation is much, much harder than the more traditional one where you can actually run away from the enemies that you run into in the Giant.
Yeah, some of the common ways that this one gets a little bit fouled up is that you don't turn encounters off immediately after you finish the whatever fight the step count tells you to take out in Baron. If you don't reset before you start counting steps is also another way. And I've also, the first few times I used it, I did not read it correctly, and when it said like 2S, I fought one more thing and then went to the save room, when that actually means to fight two more after the first encounter that you walk onto outside of Baron. So there's a number of ways that you can kind of mess it up a little bit and not realize it until you're already into the Giant.
Yeah. And, the other thing is that if you do mess it up, it's not just, I go back to the save point in the Giant and I try to walk it out again. It's not. You got to go back. You got to reset back to Baron, then do all the setup again, then go back into the big whale, walk all the way through the Giant again.
Yeah, it does not feel good. I've definitely seen some people advocate for if you have one in neither the save room or the elements room, just walk to the save point, take your save, walk off the save, and then turn your encounters back on, because then at least you're already in the Giant, so you can just then reset constantly and look for a first fight. Yeah,
go back to the more traditional method of finding the fight.
Use that as a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is really going to depend on kind of where we go from here. Oscredwin has a definite, probably 5-ish minute lead at this point, in terms of just once they get the levels, where then they'll be able to go do whatever they would like. But there's still so many places to go and bosses to see that it's going to depend so much on the route that the runners take to see who actually will come away with the victory.
Yeah, and Dragus has done a few extra checks that Oscredwin hasn't yet, having completed for specifically the top of that tower. And that could be a rabbit hole that Oscredwin decides to run down, which could help Dragus make up a little extra time.
Yeah, but a cool 49 levels I think it was on that cane. Yeah, he's on level 59. Rose is at 49. I couldn't quite see what Rydia got to, but if Rose is at 49, Rydia's probably not in the 50s. So definitely did not go all the way to nuke, but got to white in life 2 and cure 4 for Rosa. So Rosa's pretty on board for the rest of the seed, and just going to rely on Kane and probably Sid for the rest of the damage, and also might just go straight down into the Lunar Subterrane and fight some of those high XP bosses there.
Yeah, because at this point, you're on that last bit of key item hunt. Right now, the most... your key item density is mostly located on the moon, and you might be relying on that last bit of experience points from doing the lunar fights to get you the rest of the way there.
Exactly, and we do have both hunters do have the pass, and they both know that they have to come back to Earth anyway, but they won't have to go back to the moon if they do find go mode up here on the moon. So definitely incentivizes going for density, hitting the moon once just to find the stuff, and then skedaddling back down to Earth, turning in whatever you find, and going straight to Zromas after that.
Yeah, Dragus is whittling away at these beamers. Currently seems like only the one Kane is really putting out a massive amount of damage at the moment, which on the one hand makes killing the beavers a little slow. On the other hand, it does mean that you're only going to be tapping that searcher for very minimal amounts of damage.
Yep, and Rosa dragging out those iron arrows just to not waste any important arrow is going to be aiming and firing, killing that dragon right away. Tella does have the summon drop there on Dragus' side, so we will get 4 weeks per full life per full MP bar, which is very nice to have. So this will be a good party rotation for Dragus. This should be overall pretty smooth if we're able to keep the healing up.
Mm-hmm. Also looks like there was a Soma drop somewhere.
Yep, I don't remember where it was. I think I found it in a shop.
That would make a lot of sense, but filling out Tella's MP to that nice round 100 points is really, really nice.
Yeah, you absolutely love to see 4 weeks per MP fill up. And with the Ether 2s that were found on the moon too, we're going to fill it up very, very easily. So it kind of helps just tighten the rotation entirely. The one thing you might want to have with the HP on at least one of those Canes is Rosa to cure 3. That'd be about the only thing you could hope for, so that Rosa could handle all the curing duties too. But this will still work out pretty well.
Indeed. Looks like Oscredwin is doing bottom up, which does make a lot of sense. Probably going to start with that ribbon room, because those are that's one fight for the possibility of 2 different key items. So that's definitely your biggest bit of value down here. Plus it puts you proximal of 2 other quick checks and another one that's a little bit further away.
Yeah, for all the time it takes to walk down here, you end up saving time on density overall, especially if it's in one of these 4 checks. Plus, this is 100,000 XP that's hidden behind this evil wall. So if you're able to get through this, that really is going to get much closer to nuke. Everyone's going to be significantly stronger for the trouble.
Indeed. But that evil wall is slowly creeping forward. Except it's really not that slow.
No, that evil wall is evil, and it cheats, and it starts to chain, and so it gets to move forward and to punch you and then do more things, and it's gross. And Groundfire really likes to put it in important places. Yeah, Sheep Launcher noting that evil wall is evil and is a wall, so is very, very well named.
Yeah, but that Cure 4 coming out from Rosa, basically bringing that party back up to full, is really nice to see.
And Dragus definitely cuts that grind pretty short. Just gets Rosa to Cure 4. One of those Canes only picked up 17 levels, the other one picked up 39. Or Rosa picked up 17, 18 on one of the Canes, 39. So we're in the upper 40s for most of Dragus's party. Still pretty darn solid, but we'll definitely be looking to finish up XP somewhere else, even though these are effectively Zeromus levels for the Canes and the Rosa.
Yeah, and I don't blame Dragus for cutting it short after whiffing the first time. In a situation like this, if you make that mistake at the wrong encounter, you definitely feel behind because, you have to assume that your opponent got the right encounter first try.
Yeah, it's definitely a very, very good on-the-fly adjustment, which is something that's a really key part of doing well in one-on-one, realizing where you might have given time back, kind of figuring out where you can earn it back then after you handed it away, and cutting short a grind when you have a melee team is a very good choice. You also might decide to go ahead and take a run at those Dark Imps down in the Fey March because they're kind of unattractive to do, but he is indeed going to go to the moon on a follow. We'll see if he goes top down, starting with Value Cave, or just follows directly in Oscredwin's footsteps.
Looks like that is a Value Cave play.
Yeah, I think that follows pretty well with what you were saying before about feeling a little bit behind. It's kind of a play that I'll make if I'm feeling behind because it does lack the density that we talked about earlier. But because it lacks the density, it's kind of out of the way. That does mean that people fade it for a while.
Yeah, Life Staff and a Earth Crystal for Oscredwin there. Not exactly the items he wanted to see, but not the worst things you could get there. The Life Staff in particular is a really nice white magic stick.
Yeah, Rose is real happy to pick that up. That's 15 to her white magic stat, which is the best you can do in a single item.
Yeah, the Earth Crystal does represent another rabbit hole, which I don't imagine our runner is going down any day soon until this moon is completely empty.
No, and Dragus does find a Lunar Sparkle Cup here in Cave Bahamut. Meanwhile, we have Mylon Zed on Oscredwin's side. I don't remember who bought all those wizard hats, but someone should be pretty well defended against the Mylon Zed here. Yeah, Rosa takes just 150 from him. That's real nice to see. And what does Kane do best, Leggy?
Betray Cecil?
Yeah, Cecil's not on the team, but Avenging Kane comes out swinging against those D-Lunars. We get a quick retreat.
Yeah. And it looks like it's going to be a retreat all the way back to that blue planet.
Yeah, I wonder if this is going to be that Fey March dive I was thinking about earlier. And welcome in, Randomania 2. How you all doing tonight? As a quick recap, we found a pretty late Darkness Crystal. Both runners have done grind. Both of them cut them a little bit short from what we've seen typically here in the Highway to the Threemus zone. Not getting all the way to nuke on any Black Mage. And we're pretty fighter heavy, but we do have an Adventure for our Canes. We do have a White Spear on one side and I think a Dragoon Spear on the other. So we're pretty well set up in terms of gear for this, and we're kind of looking for either a Luca key or the both components to forge.
Yeah, so right now it's just who can find key items first. Dragus is giving us another peek at this Baron Castle check, which we don't know what this will turn into yet. While Oscredwin is headed down to the Ogopogo altar, which is also going to be exciting new information for us.
Yeah, both runners taking some pretty different approaches here after the grind. Oscredwin is clearing the moon. Here we've got an Asura there at that Ogopogo altar, where Dragus, after getting betrayed by an Avenging Kane against D-Lunars at Leviathan, has retreated back to the blue planet, because there's still a decent bit to clean up here. It's like Oscredwin's done a very good job of setting up the double Star Veil to prevent Sora from doing any healing on herself, and is just going to get Kayn going with that Avenger, get some cures out, and just let Kayn do all the damage here.
Yeah, it looks like our second boss for Dwarf Castle is everyone's favorite Punch Mage. Goes down in 2 swings, and we will soon see what Luca has for us today.
Yeah, if this is a vanilla key or either part of Forge, Dragus is probably feeling pretty good. If it's not, Dragus is definitely in some bit of trouble.
Yeah. We do know that the Fey March does have Dark Imps, as well as an Odin. So, depending on what Dragus sees here, those could be possible next plays for him. As he seems to be committing to the Blue Planet play.
Well, that's a Rat Tail. That is a key item to unlock another key item, so that is not horrible to see, but just kind of just lead you on suspense. We did say this was going to be a bit of a rabbit hole scene.
Yeah, and as far as rabbit holes go, luckily a Rat Tail is not very long. So, just a quick jaunt over to the archipelago. You talk to a kid, you hand over a tail, you see what wonders and mysteries Free Enterprise has to offer you today.
Yeah, you could get exciting things like an Assassin Dagger or a Big Bomb. Just kind of humdrum things like, I don't know, a Pink Tail or a Legend Sword, like whatever.
I mean, the Legend Sword would be exciting because if Oscredwin manages to only pull a adamant rock off of the moon, that could be pretty big.
Yeah, absolutely. And a quick dip into Kaipo. I guess looking for just a couple more items. Yes, refilling on Star Veils is a good call.
Oscredwin is done with the Ashura fight and gets the Luca key. Oof.
Yeah, that's go mode for Oscredwin. That's going to be a quick walk out of this crystalline kind of area, a quick exit with Tella because Rosa won't have learned it yet, and then a jaunt down to the Blue Planet underground, unlock that sealed cave, leave it behind because whatever, we don't care about closing things up after we open them. And then we'll probably be going straight to Troya, Turn of the Pass, and fight Zeromus.
Indeed. But in the meantime, it looks like Dragus is coming back up here. Gonna give us another go at these D-Lunars.
And did Dragus check that Rat Tail?
I
missed it if he did.
I don't think so. Might have left a save down on the Blue Planet.
And Sheep Launcher our tracker is saying, nope, he did not check it. So that is an interesting call to get that key item negates another key item and not follow it. We know that it won't give him Luca, just not going to be the one thing he needs. So not going to end up being terribly costly to him overall. But definitely is a curious decision.
Yeah, but if it is half of the Forge, and this happens to be the other half, this scene might turn very interesting very quickly.
But we do have 3 objectives down for Oscredwin. That gets us our crystal because we only need to complete 3 of 4 in the Highway to the Threemus zone. And so we'll, I guess, be doing a couple more, maybe shop checks real quick.
Yeah, taking stock of his inventory and heading back up to the top side.
Yep, and the path, which is a gateway to a room of questionable taste in the vanilla Final Fantasy IV game, is instead a gateway to all the hatred of Threemus. So we'll just go straight there, be able to summon him, fight him, dispatch him, and save the world.
Indeed. On Dragus' side, we do get the lunar frogs, which is always fun to see.
It is indeed. Bless Dipwood for showing us that this is a thing back in Zima Zone 1, to where the breath attack from the lunar dragons is actually reflectable back onto themselves. And they have no status protection against it, so they become tiny, tiny little frogs that you absolutely get to demolish with your Avenging Canes, Dragoon Spears, and all fun manner of things. And they just kind of say ribbit.
Yeah, but in the meantime, it looks like there's a question being asked in chat, and I believe it's ribbit, or properly translated,
whose butt are we gonna kick tonight? Did I get it right?
I think so.
Okay.
Because we're about to see what random sprite was chosen for our Threemus fight today.
Yes, the combined powers of Scala Kitty and Boardface have given us over 460 different faces and butts for us to kick throughout the randomizer. I know I haven't seen anywhere close to even half of them, and that's just an Hourglass 2 for Dragus. So womp womp there. That kind of hurts a lot.
Yeah, especially when you're feeling behind. You never want to see those whammy spots.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll take it as a sign to go back to Earth, take out those Dark Imps and that Odin maybe, to just kind of hopefully press forward and find his path to go mode.
Yeah, or, well, as I was about to say, or he could, go down into the lunar subterrane where we know the Ogopogo spot has an Ashura and that Luka key. Looks like your prediction was correct. Huh. I feel like I keep seeing this guy.
Yeah, Night Mist 2 has definitely been a pretty frequent flyer here in the Highway to the Threemus Zone. Definitely a wonderful sprite and a good butt to kick.
Indeed. Oscredwin getting the 1 in 5 reflected counter nuke.
You'll love to see it.
Which, indeed, saves some damage on you and also helps move this fight along. Just a Levia orb from that rat tail, which is yet again not what Dragus wants to see right now.
No, I don't think he had picked it up because that was in a trap chest that Oscredwin had found, so it's a bit of a small boost, but yeah, not the dream, not what Dragus is hoping for. Dragus definitely feeling very, very behind at this point.
Yeah. Ooh, quad 9's off that white.
Yeah, Rosa's got a white hat on, got that life staff, got a whole bunch of levels. Definitely going to be doing some good work.
Yeah, as Dragus is going to go down and give us a look at our Fame Arch bosses. And sadly, it looks like Oscredwin's Rydia only got up to Lit 3, which is still a fair bit of damage, but it's sadly no nuke.
Nope, she's just kind of chipping in, electrifying the place a little bit with her sparkling personality.
I'm stunned.
Not shocked?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not positive.
Rydia feeling a little negative, though, shooting herself directly in the face with that lit 3. That Starveil had worn off, unfortunately. Rosa trying to follow it up with a white that's also going to fizzle.
Unfortunate, but at this point, I imagine the Berserk boys can take over.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is just Rosa going to hang back, toss some Cure 4s, maybe re-Berserk up Sid if we get a Black Hole out. But there's not a whole lot of inputs left for Oscredwin here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like it's 4 to 5k per round from the 2 Berserk boys. So this should be over fairly quickly, unless there's like a rude back-to-back Big Bang into Medio.
Yeah, and I think this damage output is low enough that it's unlikely for that to happen overall. I know that runners like Flurry and a couple other people have the numbers memorized a lot more. I think Zelch does as well, about what is a danger zone kind of number where you actually want to pay attention and get out and push at just the right time to maybe throw another white out or something. But this, I think, is pretty safe, and these HP totals and gear total also for Rosa should also be safe.
Yeah, there's a direct nuke coming out, which marks us going into phase 2, I believe.
Yep, we have definitely refilled HP. Threemus, after taking about 45,000 points of damage, says, "That was cool, guys. Let's do it again." Refills up to HP, and then switches from viruses to nukes on those undirected casts. Meanwhile, those Dark Imps just have a Samurai Bow. Dragus continuing to come up empty.
Yeah, the Samurai Bow is the second best bow you can find, but again, it's not the progression Dragus really is desperately looking for right now.
Yeah, it's something that would have been interesting as soon as you got into the Underworld, but not interesting an hour and 43 minutes into a seed. And that's some rocks. That's the last phase for Zeromus. There was no Big Bang into Medio. This is now home free. 1 Cure 4. Oscar can put this controller down.
Yeah, 1 or 2 more swings off of the... looks like exactly 1 swing, and Oscredwin has finished.
GG's to Oscredwin, getting their first win here on the table stage. These are definitely some tough flags overall. If you didn't get a whole lot of time to practice them, it is definitely a little bit of a rude awakening, but excellent work in getting that first win on table, keeping those hopes alive.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this does put Dragus at two wins and 4 losses, which is most likely, unfortunately, eliminated. When I was running the numbers, there are some edge cases where some 2-win players make it in. Oh, that's an adamant off the Odin.
Well, that's halfway there, but we'll see. Dragus maybe will have seen that done in the next little bit. We'll see if he's interested in continuing. We'll also see if we do get Oscredwin put in the booth here for an interview.
Indeed.
It does look like Dragus is having a nice long think here after seeing that Adamant Rock and possibly seeing the done come into the race room, since both runners will keep Discord open generally and kind of look in.
Yeah. And it does look like, unfortunately, Dragus has decided to tap out, which totally understandable. At this point, you're still on a massive hunt for that last item for Go Mode. You've got your entire moon to clear. I do not blame Dragus for being like, nah, I'm just gonna bow out gracefully on this seed. Yeah, well run and well fought, though.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we are joined by Oscredwin, who is the victor of this race, winning in 142.57 and getting your first win here at table. GG's.
Thank you very much. It looks like it came down to the moon versus not the moon. I was catching the last bit of the race and talking to Dragus on the race channel. Was that right?
It mostly did. You were the first up to the moon, and then you went straight down to the bottom. Dragus made a couple of different choices, a little bit different routing that just did not pay out for him. But you definitely were the first one there. So even if you guys were in a foot race doing the same path, you completed your D machine grind first, and were likely to continue being first through everything else because you were, what, Zoe, 2-3 minutes ahead on the D machine grind, if not a little bit more.
Yeah, something like that. Unfortunately, Dragus had a little bit of a rough time setting up the manipulation. But both of you had a fairly back and forth, really, really exciting race up until that darkness crystal showed up. Like, one of you would make a check, then the other one would make another check and find something interesting, and it was this really interesting and tidy back and forth.
It was a really interesting overworld. I didn't want to waste too much time. Like, CPU is manageable at the levels I tried it at the first time, but slow, so I just skipped it and came back later. Was an extremely keyed seed. It was a 3-key seed. I was thinking that the whole time because once I saw the objectives. But I don't know. The Luca key was buried in the bottom of the moon. I don't know if you've gotten to the credits yet, but the Legend Sword is behind the Luca key. So that was hard
of course
to
it is.
And I thought I might have been ahead because a lot of people like to fade music, but it turns out he went there right on through. Or he went there around the same time I did, I think.
Yeah, I forget which one of you was there first, but you both found that hook, went to go peek it, decided to tap out, went in. You both did an admirable attempt getting through that antlion before tapping out and eventually decided to go off and do music.
I mean, in 24 minutes or whatever it was, I see King Queen Evelyn in the Rubicon spot. I thought, whoa, is this the easiest hook path ever? I gotta check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the aggressive play. I think you were the first one to see that, and I really like the play, especially when your effective tournament life is on the line. So you're definitely going to go chase and see if you can get through. And I'm sure you felt very behind once you kind of bounced off of that pretty hard.
Yeah. Although finding the magma key behind music, because I know I don't know how Dragus feels about music, but I know a lot of racers like to fade it pretty hard because of the cutscene and everything. But so I was feeling pretty comfortable once that happened, and then the rest of my routing was I don't even check top of tower. Vanilla Pan was a bit of a treat. But
yeah, Vanilla Pan leading to what? Both the pass and something else?
Wasn't it Darkness on Yam? Or was that Baron?
I think it was the Baron key, which
Darkness was on Golbez.
Yeah. Golbez on the Baron throne is always fun.
Yeah, but you reacted well to it.
You get the 50-50, and if you don't hit it, you have to reset and go back. At least I saved in the Watery Pass. I don't usually do that. But I forgot to save beforehand, so I figured I might as well throw one in. Turned out to be really useful.
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely saved you probably 35-40 seconds of walking through the barren sewers there. So very nice heads up play to remember that you didn't save, and to make sure that you got that done.
Yes. So at this point, you're 1-3. How are you feeling about these two upcoming matches?
I'm feeling confident. Like, this is my first tournament. I feel like if I had been playing at like the top of my game, I think I'd have a better record. I had a chance to really get lucky against Penguinator. and blew it. And I got some bad luck in another race, and then I was I've been having nerves the whole race. But I'm calming down, and my play is getting better, and hopefully I can make it to 3-3, and hopefully that's good enough for brackets.
Yeah, and even if it ends up not being, going 3-3 against competition here at table, especially in your first tournament, is a heck of a testament to how good of a runner you are currently, and that you have a pretty darn high ceiling.
Yeah, thank you. I just got into this tournament because I thought it would just be fun to play, and I was hoping to not just get crushed in groups, and it seems like I'm doing not too bad. Turns out a lot of practice and a lot of thinking about routing really works.
Mm-hmm. And it shows in your ability to make it, all the way to the table, if not further.
Yeah, I think Dragus ran a good race. I was watching, he routed it basically the way I was really scared he was going to, that he found the magma key early, got down in there, and I think the moon was the better play than the underground, but the underground was still a lot of checks. And if the Luca key was at Dwarf Castle or the top of tower or something, he would have just taken the race. So it's a very good race, and I just got a little lucky.
Yeah, which is absolutely something that you have to do, especially when the seed gives you, cool, here's your darkness crystal. You haven't had a lot of reason to fully explore Earth yet, so go have fun with like 2 totally different paths you can go down and hope you choose the right one.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Is hope things are correct. The Earth crystal really threw me. I was almost tempted to drop a save at the bottom of the moon and go and check Zod, but Zod is just way too slow.
Yeah, is that something in your thinking about routing that you said you've done? Do you like to go for those vanilla key item locations? Do you prefer to stick with density? Kind of what are your thoughts there?
I like going with density. I like fading long and slow fading slow boss checks, especially if I'm underleveled or might not be able to make it through. And there was an analysis somebody posted on the Discord about where the key items were and what was likely to have a key item versus not. I forget who did that. I want to give the appropriate shout out. But that got me to change my routing strategy and like not fade any of the overworld spots, since they're like 11% more likely to hold a key item than anything else. I don't want to fade an early Fabul, don't want to fade an Ordeals, don't want to fade a Baronin, if I can help it.
Well, Leggy, do you have any other questions for Oscredwin tonight?
Not at this point. Outside of once again saying congratulations on your win, and I look forward to seeing how the rest of your runs go.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah, definitely a pleasure watching you race. And just to kind of give a shout out to people who did do some of that analysis, MechaLink had done the initial bit, and then my co-commentator here, Leggy, had also done some additional delving into the stats. So for anyone watching, that is available in the League General channel in the Discord. You can see both the initial analysis of Mecha and Leggy's extra analysis on some other questions that people had. Both of them very, very good and very interesting. And I know I've referred to them as I've been thinking about my own routing.
And at this point, we are going to be heading off to raid Commander Leonhardt, who I'm not 100% sure what he's up to tonight, but Let me check.
Let's see, it looks like he's doing a couple of seeds. One of them looks like was submitted from Arnlore, and the other was a table salt seed from last week from Ground Flyer, which I have definitely heard some tales about. So Commander Leonhardt has a bit of a night in front of him, I believe, playing some more for Enterprise.
Yeah, so that's going to be definitely a fun time, and I hope everyone here enjoys it.
Absolutely, and I have very much enjoyed doing commentary tonight with you, Leggy, and thank you for Ground Flyer for rolling us the seed and for the tracking done. My brain has shut off, so I apologize. Let me find out Sheep Launcher for doing all the wonderful tracking, and thank you all for watching, and hope you have a great evening.